going to validate or invalidate some of the stat leaders because we officially hit the 4-week mark of the season. It's not like your month, 30-day, 31-day, but we are 4 Thursdays in. So we are through the first month of the season. We'll take a look at the stat leaders and pretty much just call it fact or fluke, rapid fire. We're also going to open the floor to yours truly because if you remember last week, Peter Apple, who's joining me on this show on Thursday, April 27th, asked me to air out my frustrations on the White Sox, and I didn't do it. I wouldn't even call it half-assed it. I quarter-assed it because I was I'm indifferent. But now I'm kind of bought into this team just sucking, and I'm willing to see them blow it up. So I'll get into that right away. But first, Peter Apple, let me tell you about this ball game that I just watched on Wednesday afternoon. The AAA affiliate of the Guardians, Columbus, beat Indy 10-7. It was a 4-run ninth inning. They hit around in the ninth. They hit around twice in the game. 17 combined runs, 23 combined hits. You had 22 guys left on base, 20 combined walks. With the pitch clock, the game took 3 hours and 17 minutes.
20 walks?
20 walks, 17 combined punch-outs, 20 combined walks.
And I know you don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but who was on the mound?
Caleb Smith started.
Caleb Smith, former big leaguer Caleb Smith?
Former big leaguer, former Diamondbacks reliever Caleb Smith started the game against Adam Scott, who's not the Adam Scott from Parks and Rec and Severance. I appreciated your tweet at me today.
Did you see that potentially I could be in for a bullpen role? I let them know about my low 70s fastball with a couple inches of induced vertical break, and but I ruined my chance because I accidentally typed out IVP instead of IVB. And if you're looking for a spot in a bullpen, you can't mess up the grammar like that. They're going to think I'm a fraud.
Well, you are.
What do you mean?
No, listen. So you're saying you could be up for a spot in the bullpen because you tweeted at them and you got the like on the tweet.
How else do you get on a team?
Well, so here's a fun one for you. There were a couple of guys. Kyle Bodie, who's the founder of Driveline in Seattle. Yes. Kyle Bodie, very active on Twitter. Bodie was the director of pitching development or the minor league pitching coordinator for the Cincinnati Reds.
He was the pitching ninja for the Cincinnati Reds.
Yes, but he wasn't doing a great job. I think they mutually agreed to part ways, or he got let go midway through a season, and you really never see coordinators get let go midway through a season. But there were a couple guys that I saw in high A with Cincinnati in 2021 that were signed in very unorthodox ways. I think Braxton Roxby was the guy, or it might have been someone else. Kyle Bodie and the Reds signed a minor league free agent based off of a Rapsodo screenshot on Reddit. Kyle Bodie was hosting a Reddit circle, and this guy who is a D2 pitcher dropped a Rapsodo screenshot, dropped his slider and fastball data in a Reddit page to Kyle Bodie. And in turn, that led to a conversation, and in turn, that led to a free agent deal with the Reds.
Did he ever end up being anything?
No, he wasn't good. But
that
guy shot his shot. It would have been sick, but he shot his shot and got there because Kyle Bodie was the right place for him at the right time.
Speaking about Reddit, I don't know if you follow NFL draft stuff, but some
dude
on Reddit
stupid. Yeah, give this to me. So
said
dumb.
About Will Levis, right? It was this guy on Reddit. I guess his name is anonymous or something like that for all the NFL people out there, because the draft is today as we are, recording on Wednesday. The draft is Thursday. So someone on Reddit said, "Thank me later." Will Levis is telling his family and friends that Carolina is going to draft him. And the Carolina Panthers have the number 1 overall pick. And it is expected that they are going to go with Bryce Young, the quarterback out of Alabama. There's also C.J. Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State. There's a lot of really good quarterbacks. And Will Levis has been in that conversation between Anthony Richardson out of Florida for the 3rd or 4th quarterback taken. He's also kind of a weirdo. There's a video that surfaced of him just staring into the camera and eating a brown banana. Kind of strange, but also has a quarterback body. And what's crazy about it, we're sponsored by BetMGM. Those lines went crazy. He was around a I don't know the exact lines, but it was
It was
above
like 4,000. It was like 4,000 to
it was like
400.
40 to 1. And on some books right now, he is plus 250. So
Dude.
these couple weeks that lead up to the NFL draft, it's all noise. I forget who broke it down. I think it was Michael K, where he said throw the capital J in journalism out the window because people just take a story and they run with it, and you throw all journalistic qualities out the window with these 2 weeks, and it's just bashing, it's rumors, lines are flying all over the place. So that's Reddit.
I love that. So real quick on Levis, like, and hey, we can spend 2 minutes on the draft because it's draft day. Real quick on Levis. This past fall, I was listening to the Ryan Russillo podcast, and like I love Russillo. Russillo had Todd McShay on, who's like the lead draft guy at ESPN.
I feel bad for Todd McShay. Have you seen that every single podcast that's talked about football that's relevant has had Todd McShay on? He's been going over the draft probably 15 hours a day for the past like 3 months, and he just does spot after spot. And it's the same questions over and over and over again.
Okay, might I say, though, this is when he eats, and he gets paid very handsomely to talk about hearsay when it comes to the NFL draft.
I would like to trade places with him.
So like the moment that I was out on Levis is when Todd McShay was on Russillo last fall, and Russillo asked about Levis. He asked about the top four: Stroud, Young, Anthony Richardson, and Levis. And when they got to Levis, the first thing that McShay said about Will Levis was, "This guy's a weight room legend." And I was so out on that. Like, obviously, he's carved like a Greek god. He looks like Adonis, whatever. But I don't need my quarterback to look like that.
Okay, but you know another quarterback that's a weight room legend?
Tim
Jalen
Tebow.
Hurts, who just signed a $265 million contract. There are videos all over the internet of him squatting 500 pounds. So that's not the weird thing for me. I think the weird thing for me is, yes, he does look like an NFL quarterback as we sit here today, but he's not that good at playing quarterback. I don't know if you've seen him at the University of Kentucky. Yeah, he's not that good.
His combine and pro day were so hot, though.
How would you rank the top four quarterbacks? I would go number one, CJ Stroud. Then I'd go Anthony Richardson, 20-year-old. Like, people don't realize how young this guy is. You get him in a good NFL system, and you could just mold him. I think he has the most upside of any player in this draft. Number three, I'm going Bryce Young. I'm worried about the body. 5'10", 5'11", under 200 pounds. Not a lot of history of those types of quarterbacks being that good at this level. Like, there's the Russell Wilson, there's the Drew Brees, but those are anomalies. That's not regular. And then Will Levis is 4, and then you have Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. It's a weird draft because I don't love any of the quarterbacks at all, but I think there's a decent chance that they go 1, 2, 3, 4 in this draft.
Bro, this turned into the Just Football show very quickly. No, I mean, like, top four, I don't know. I've got some preferences there. Like, I guess, Young 1, Stroud 2, Richardson 3, Levis 4. But like the way that I want it to shake out is I don't care what happens in the front two. I want Anthony Richardson as a Colt because I live here. I live in Indy. I want to go watch Anthony Richardson. That's the guy that I want to watch the most. So that's my final thing on that. Also, real quick before I get into my White Sox rant, you sent a very underratedly funny text. Living in New York City, I said, "You ready to go in 10?" before I sent you the Zoom link. And you said, "Walking up the stairs so good in 3 minutes." Welcome to the walk-up life.
Oh, I know. I live on the 4th floor, and I have to walk up the stairs every single day. But I love it, actually, weirdly. I know it doesn't make any sense, but I don't get a lot of exercise. I wake up at 7 in the morning, cap all morning, which basically I make all my bets, write the article.
Bro, you do nothing but cap. You're such a capper.
I know I am such a capper. Film the TikTok, jump on the podcast, go to the stream, film TikToks, then at night, watch all the baseball for research the next day and to keep giving everyone my best shot at talking about baseball on the Just Baseball show. So unfortunately, in these early months, it's tough for me to get the exercise. So I walk from my apartment to the studio, which is about 1.2 miles, get that walk in, walk back, stairs, up and down. It's my only exercise, so I actually don't mind it at all.
Yeah, man, do some sit-ups and some squats while watching the game. That's kind of my jam too. I've got bands sitting in the corner. I'll do like the lat, the band extension, all that shit. So we make do, man. We're content creators.
I try and look like Will Levis, but right now I'm kind of looking like, like Bryce Young if he gained like 50 pounds of fat.
Got you. Yeah, that's kind of my MO too. And hey, you know what? Transitioning to the White Sox, Steve Stone, the TV analyst, went on 670 The Score the other day and said that Lance Lynn needs to have a couple of salads. So like maybe we fall into the Lance Lynn bucket.
I felt so bad. Your uncle Matt Spiegel, who I love. I think he's a phenomenal personality. I follow on Twitter. I love everything he puts out. Shout out Matt Spiegel. He on Twitter, it was like the first inning and it was 0-0. He's like, hey, look, the White Sox aren't losing. And then immediately, like maybe 30 seconds after, the Blue Jays put up a bunch of runs, and just the replies were so funny. People were putting up tombstones of like, Rip weren't losing 12:08 to 12:30. It's a disaster in the south side of Chicago, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts.
All right, let's get into this. And I came armed with facts. Like, this is how I want to go about it, because I don't want to just like get angry and yell about random shit. I want to cite specific things to show you how shitty the experience is for White Sox fans.
Can I also say one thing too? I'm very happy that this is happening because I'm normally the rant guy. I'm the emotional idiot who lets sometimes my emotions get the best of me. You might hear a Marlins rant from Aram once a year because I think he's just given up all hope, even when they're playing good baseball, and they are actually pretty decent right now. You give one a couple of times a year, but this is much earlier than we normally expect it.
I'm eulogizing the 2023 Chicago White Sox on the night of Wednesday, April 26th. And again, I come armed with numbers. So as I go to my favorite application in the history of applications, Microsoft OneNote, I pull up the bulleted list. There are 3 teams in Major League Baseball that have a walk rate under 7%. One of them is the Chicago White Sox. I'm going offense, then pitching. Walks will help you get on base. There are 3 Major League Baseball teams that don't get on base at a 300 clip. The Kansas City Royals, the Detroit Tigers, and the Chicago White Sox. You won't walk if you don't chase pitches. And guess what? The Chicago White Sox chase more pitches out of the strike zone than any other team in Major League Baseball. Because of that, the White Sox are one of 10 teams in Major League Baseball to have not scored 100 or more runs at this point. Thought second base was going to be the problem. Everybody did going into the year. They signed Elvis Andrus, but with Tim Anderson out, Andrus slides over to short. Let's just look at the middle infield options right now with TA out. Elvis Andrus is slashing 195, 260, 230. Lenyn Sosa is slashing 122, 143, 220. Romy Gonzalez, who was in right yesterday, is slashing 129, 129, 129. That's the offense. Now let's go to the pitching staff. The Chicago White Sox.
Wait, what about Luis Robert? He's playing really well, right?
He's fine. He's like, honestly,
I was joking. I think he's sucked. Yeah.
He's been underwhelming, but he's actually like the least of my problems right now. Andrew Benintendi isn't slugging for shit. We saw that last year in Kansas City and New York. Like
the highest paid White Sox ever.
Yeah. So, okay, here's another thing. You were immediately derailing. With the Brian Reynolds contract now, that's 8 years for 106. There are 3 teams in Major League Baseball, 3 organizations that have yet to hand out a 9-figure deal. The Oakland A's, their highest paid player is Eric Chavez at 6 years, $66 million.
Moneyball Eric Chavez, who actually wasn't
Eric
featured in Moneyball, which is one of the great faults of Moneyball, is that they never talked about Tim Hudson. They never talked about Eric Chavez. They never talked about Barry Zito. We could continue, but I'm more interested in your rant.
So the Oakland A's, one of 3. The Chicago White Sox, one of 3. Their largest deal in franchise history in terms of total money is Andrew Benintendi at 5 years, 75. And the Kansas City Royals, I believe, are the 3rd team to not give out a 9-figure deal. So there we go. Like, there's the finish of the offense rant. Now let's go to the pitching, which is the real bugaboo here. The White Sox have the 2nd worst staff ERA in all of baseball at 5.62. That's only better than Oakland. They have the 2nd highest FIP in the game, only better than Oakland. The staff has walked the 2nd most hitters in baseball, again, only better than Oakland. I'm going to be mean to a guy that's on the IL right now, but like he kind of encapsulates what's going on here. Joe Kelly is making $9 million this year. There are 187 days in the MLB season, according to the service time clock. Joe Kelly has been on the roster for 28 days. He makes just over $48,000 a day. So far this year, he has made $1,347,593.58. He's allowed 4 hits and 3 earned in 2 2/3 innings so far. And yes, he was on the IL for 2 weeks. He was dealing with a groin strain. He hasn't thrown since April 8th. So let's jump to Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn makes just under $99,000 a day with his 2-year extension. He's taken in $2.8 million this year to have a 7.52 ERA in 5 starts. Michael Kopech has an ERA over 7. Mike Clevenger has a 4.8 and sucks ass as a dude. Lucas Giolito has a 4.5. Dylan Cease has an underwhelming 2.73 and is nearly 2 runs better than every other starter in this rotation. Like, this team is so ridiculously flawed. And this might be the deadline where you say bye to some of your favorite players. They let Jose Abreu walk in free agency. It made sense because Andrew Vaughn was there. But like, hey, if Tim Anderson's on the move or if Giolito's on the move, no, we are entering the new frontier of White Sox baseball. And we might be due for it because it's been inept decision after inept decision. And the guys that are good can't stay on the field. And the guys that aren't good are the ones that happen to be on the field all the time. That's my rant.
Beautiful. There's a baseball podcast by the name of Foul Territory. It's a great podcast. After you listen to ours, I think you should go listen to theirs because it's Scott Braun, who's former MLB Network.
I know where you're going with this.
Maybe the people listening don't. And he had on one of the hosts is AJ Pierzynski, former White Sox legend. If you can call him that, I would. I think he's a White Sox legend.
For sure.
He asked Lance Lynn, because Lance Lynn was on the podcast, and AJ Pierzynski put it mildly, sort of. He said, "What the fuck is going on, Lance Lynn, in Chicago? What is this team?" And I'm glad he was perfectly honest with Lance Lynn. And Lynn's answer was, they're going through a lot of changes, Jack. They got a new manager. I don't even know if the front office is that different, but it's a new way of baseball going on in Chicago. Do you think that's a good enough excuse from what's been seen on the field so far?
Pause for drama. Absolutely fucking not. What? This is the last ditch effort.
I heard that and I had no idea what. Okay. There was a part of my brain that said, all right, the New York Mets, do you remember that 2021 year where nobody was hitting offensively? Very down years, Lindor's first year. Mets fans felt like the year was going up in flames. They weren't even close to this bad. And it's something when they're changing a hitting philosophy. What is this hitting philosophy and how does it then impact every single starting pitcher? That's the difference. When I was thinking, all right, maybe he has a point here because we saw what happened with the Mets, but that was offensively. That wasn't the entire team. That wasn't from the catcher to the center fielder to the fourth outfielder to the last guy in the bullpen to the number 1 guy on the mound. So I sat there thinking, Lynn, that's not an excuse. Come on, man.
It's not. It's a terrible excuse. And here's the thing. I'm willing to buy Pedro Grifol a bit more time because he aced the offseason. Every time I heard him speak, I was very in on what this guy's about. And I think that he can be a good big league manager. But for him to say, I saw a couple days ago, he said something about the absence of Tim Anderson. We are much better when Tim Anderson is on the field than when he isn't. No shit. He's a superstar shortstop. He's your leadoff hitter and your best player. That's a pretty weird thing for a big league manager to say. The other thing that jumps out to me is everything is bad. You know what I mean? You've got the pitching second worst pitching staff in baseball, only ahead of Oakland. You've got the hitting, who isn't walking, who's hardly hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Like, they're not doing anything well offensively. Your two best hitters by OPS so far this year are both on the IL, which is something that White Sox fans have become far too accustomed to seeing.
I didn't
And
know
like,
that.
you've got character flaws here. Like, I've got Mike Clevenger asking if the media are music producers because he's warming up to Gold Digger by Kanye West after he quote unquote beat abuse allegations in the offseason. This is such a flawed, fucked up team right now.
I banned from betting on them.
Yeah.
I view them as unwatchable, and I'm not even a fan. It's
Been outscored.
You and I watch so much baseball, even at night. Like, we're outside of a Cincinnati Reds fan and a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. If we're watching that game, like, I'm watching that game. I watch a ton of baseball, and I know you do too. I don't turn on White Sox games.
No, and like, I still do, because
They're your team.
yeah, but
You
like,
hate them.
I'm
I
waiting
hate the
for
Yankees
them.
too, honestly. Like, I used to be the most passionate fan in the world. I hate them. Like, I love them. I love them to death, and I will
Yeah.
die a Yankee fan. I was born a Yankee fan, and I will die a Yankee fan, and I will always have their backs. But at the same time, like, when we talk about so many different teams and we fall in love with players and we watch so much baseball across the league, like, you start to have like a little bit of distaste for your team. And like, I can't imagine being in your situation because the Yankees just put up 12 runs and they've been horrible offensively, but they ain't the White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, you take a gander at what's happened the last 2 days in Toronto. They've been outscored 15-0, and they've just looked totally outmatched by an objectively better team. That's a tough pill to swallow. What I will say is, like, not only have I made the transition of being a fan of a team to a fan of individuals, like, I root for players around the league. When you work in sports, your fandom tends to dissipate. And I know that this is not a problem unique to me. I know that a lot of people experience this. I would probably consider myself more of a Pirates fan right now than a White Sox fan, because the Pirates are running out guys that I got to watch every day a year ago and this year and got to know. Kind of same deal. Like, hey, I'm an employee within the Padres organization in 21, so I'm keeping tabs on the Padres. Like, that's the team that I pay attention to. So I've been kind of blessed in this situation to not have to watch the White Sox every night from a fan perspective.
Just say you're blessed.
Kind of, like, honestly, I feel bad for the guys on our staff. Like, Brandon Anderson does a great job on graphics for us. Elijah Evans is a social media wizard, and they're sitting here watching the White Sox every night and getting really frustrated. And like, when I turn them on, I expect the worst, and I don't live and die with their success. And fortunately, that's the case, because I'd be dying a lot so far this year.
Yeah, it's funny. Instead of players, which I fall in love with all the time, I fall in love with brands of baseball, like the way teams play.
For
Last
sure.
season in particular, fell in love with the Cleveland Guardians, fell in love with the St. Louis Cardinals. It was those two teams where it was like defense, offense, but like not selling out for power, like moving each other over. That brand of baseball, I just felt was a winning formula. And then when the starting pitching came to play, like good guys in the bullpen that you could always rely on, shorten games, like that was the brand of baseball that I'm starting to fall in love with. And I am still in love with. That's why, I talk about the Cardinals all the time. I talk about the Guardians all the time, because I find myself, when I don't have a bet going on, I turn on the Guardians game. I turn on the Cardinals game because I'm enamored with the way these two teams play baseball. Now, those two teams in particular, the Cardinals are off to a terrible start. The Guardians are off to a middling start. Right. And the last thing I wanted to wrap on in your White Sox rant, the American League Central, dude, like you mentioned the Royals, you mentioned the Tigers, like a lot of these teams, there are 4 teams right now who have an OPS plus of under 100, I think, on the year. I think I saw this. They're all in the Central.
Yeah,
it's a rough division right now.
I'm looking at WRC plus numbers for the league, and the league leaders in WRC. Oh my God, Tampa's got a 149 as a team.
So you know how I play splits all the time?
Yeah,
like lefty, righty, all that stuff when I'm betting.
Yeah.
They're number one against lefties, and they're number one against righties, and it ain't close.
Dude. So all 5 teams in the AL Central have a WRC plus under 100. Minnesota's at 97. The White Sox are 24th in baseball. These are the bottom 7 teams in baseball. White Sox are 7th worst with an 85. Washington, Cleveland out of nowhere, Cincinnati, Colorado, Kansas City, and Detroit. That's the worst teams in baseball in the American League Central.
Not ideal. Twins,
Not
though.
ideal.
Twins are killing it, sort of.
With a 97 WRC plus, like even they're below average.
I know, it's funny. They're all pitching this year. I love their bullpen.
Yeah,
I love their starting staff.
Maeda looked like doo-doo today, though.
They need to. He can't be throwing games anymore.
Like, they've got guys by committee that they can roll with that are waiting in AAA, like Bailey Ober, Louis Varland, Simeon Woods Richardson. Like all those guys can start every third time through the rotation.
Bailey Ober is better than Kenta Maeda. Like he's just objectively better than Kenta Maeda. And Louis Varland is stuff plus, which is a great stat that I'm starting to reference now on Fangraphs. It grades your stuff kind of like WRC plus. And Louis Varland is his stuff, at least metrically, is phenomenal. And Simeon Woods Richardson is a guy who came over in the Jose Barrios deal, who has already shown a little bit so far this season. But again, if he's like your 7th guy, it's phenomenal.
Feel great. All right, league leaders. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through the traditional numbers. I'm fine.
All right.
I'm fine.
No, but usually that makes me feel better. Like when I rant about the Yankees afterwards, I feel good.
I don't feel better or worse. Like I just needed to get those thoughts out there because, you can say, oh yeah, I'm really frustrated, but I don't know. I like digging into hey, why? Why am I so frustrated? Yeah. And that's why. Like I watched them swing at sliders low and away for 3 hours a night, or usually I just watch the condensed game because it's really hard for me to convince myself to watch 3 hours of that team.
Watching pitch by pitch of the Chicago White Sox is almost unbearable. They put up the worst at bats in Major League Baseball. It's unwatchable. I classified them as the most unwatchable team in Major League Baseball.
Without Tim Anderson in that lineup, that is the hardest offense to watch in baseball, I think.
It's impossible. Because even Luis Robert, sliders, blown away. He's done.
It's it. Done. It's very Baez-esque, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, damn, dude, you have so much potential. Just lay off that pitch and you're an MVP.
So much talent. Oh, I went through with Aaron Judge, remember? Aaron Judge, sliders low and away, then he found it, and then he had 62 home runs. Maybe that happens with Luis Robert. Maybe.
I hope so.
That'd be cool.
Hey, man, I hope so.
Yeah.
Right. League leaders. Let's go traditional stats, and then we'll jump into the advanced numbers. We'll go hitters, then pitchers, and we'll go traditional, then advanced, traditional, then advanced. Let's start with the batting average, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fly through the top 5 in each of these categories, and we're pretty much just going to say fact or fluke, and real quick, where you expect they end up. Mm-hmm. Top 5 in Major League Baseball in batting average right now. Luis Ariz is hitting 444. Matt Chapman's hitting 364. Ronald Acuna Jr. is hitting 360. Brandon Marsh at 352. Randy Arozarena at 348. And I do want to throw in Nico Horner, 6th in all of baseball, hitting 347. So there are a couple of guys here that kind of make sense at the top. Ariz makes sense at the top. Acuna makes sense at the top. Matt Chapman's off to a great start. I think he tapers off a little bit, but I can see him being a 300 hitter. And then Brandon Marsh, great start at 352. Here's to hoping it clicks and he's a 300 guy. I'm not sure, though. What jumps out there in that grouping is 6.
Well, shout out Brandon Nimmo, who's also hitting 349, actually just qualified. So he's in there. I think that's a fact. I mean, 349 is not a fact, but I think he should be a guy who's hitting around the 300 mark. Matt Chapman, I don't see as a 300 hitter. He's hitting the living piss out of the ball. But again, I think he's a 270 hitter, which is great. And he's going to hit a bunch of home runs and he's going to be great defensively. And he's one of the best third basemen in baseball. He doesn't need to hit 300 to be super valuable. So I think he's going to fall off. Marsh is toying around with the highest batting average on balls in play in Major League Baseball. But I think Nico Horner, his bat is so it's so fun to watch. And that's why I even apologized to Cubs early on, because I watched this team. I'm like, wait a minute, they have something. And I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is. Nico Horner at the top, followed by Dansby Swanson. Those two at the top is so electric They are both, I think, such good quality hitters, right? They don't chase. They put the bat on the ball and they make contact and they make the defense get them out. I love them at the top. So I think Nico Horner is absolutely a fact. If we're just going through those, I think Ronald Acuna Jr., I mean, it's funny. I got flack for putting him at like, I think 6 on my top 100 list because they're like, oh, the knee thing. Like, is he going to do it? He is a freak of nature. Now, he might not ever find that 40 home run stroke, the 39 that he had a couple of years ago. You know, he's still not lifting the ball that much. But if he walks, it's a double. If he gets a double, it's a triple. He steals bags, and it's so easy. It's never even close either. It's a stolen base, and it's either no throw or it's a second behind. Like, you don't see that from base stealers all that often or that consistently. League leader in stolen bases. He is one of the best overall players in baseball, and I think there's like there's pure hitters, and then there's best all around, and I'd venture to say like there's 1 or 2 better than Ronald Acuna Jr. all around. He might just be the best all around player in the game.
Yeah, I can absolutely hear you on that. I think until proven otherwise, Tatis might be that guy for me.
Let's see it. I got to see it. I'm not saying talent wise, yes, but like Acuna's doing it. I got to see Tatis do it.
But Tatis has only been around for a week. You know what I mean?
All right, but like Acuna's doing it. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give the credit to the guy who is doing it before I put Tatis above him.
For sure. Totally understand that. All right, homers. Max Muncy leads the way with 11. He's hitting the crap out of the ball. We talked about him a bit earlier this week. Pete Alonso's got 10. Rafi Devers has 9, as does Patrick Wisdom of the Cubs. And then Rowdy Tellez has 8. Tellez is always a guy that if he plays a full season is going to hit 30 to 35. I think this is kind of real from Rowdy. Wisdom, there's going to be a stretch where he really, really struggles, but he will also put together tears like this, and he happens to be putting together one of these tears at the beginning of the year. Devers for real, Alonso for real. Muncy, I love to see it. I think Muncy's power might taper off, but again, this is a guy that we've seen hit 35 bombs at certain points in his career.
36 home runs in 2021. Like, we forget about Max Muncy because he had that terrible year last year. He had Tommy John surgery, so he basically was using his bat as a prop. He wasn't swinging at all. I think he could easily be a 35 to 40 home run guy. He has real power. I actually think that's a fact. Do I think he's going to lead the league in home runs? No, but it's kind of like, do I think, you know, Nico Horner and Brandon Nimmo are going to hit 350? Probably not, but do I think they're going to be up there on the leaderboards? Absolutely. I feel the same with Muncy. Wisdom, I think you said it perfectly. He might hit 30 home runs this year and hit 200. Like, yeah.
This is what he does. Like, welcome to the Pat Wisdom experience.
Exactly. And I was even speaking about Teoscar Hernandez as a guy who's going to have these big ups and downs. Teoscar is a better overall hitter than Patrick Wisdom is, but Wisdom will have these power outputs where he hits 8 in a week. And you're just like, holy shit, this is the greatest power hitter I've ever seen. But then there will be months where he hits 0 and it's striking out 50% of the time. And you're like, all right, let's cut him. And then he has those stretches again. And if you rattle off 8 home run 2-week stretches 3 times this season, you're at 24, and then a couple more home runs, you're at 30. So I think he'll be in that 30 range.
Got you. All right, RBIs. Adolis Garcia, after that crazy Saturday, is the league leader at 29. Yordan Alvarez has 27. Randy Arozarena has 24, as does Rafi Devers. And then a 2-way tie for 5th. Ozzy Albies and Pete Alonso. Alonso, yes. Devers, yes. Yordan Alvarez, hell yes. I think this is the year that he could lead the league in RBIs. I mean, I was looking at Ryan Howard's numbers because he signed his extension on this date in 2010, I want to say. And Howard like had some years in the late 2000s where he drove in 140.
Yeah, I think
that can be Yordan. Like, Yordan can hit 38 with 140 driven in.
I was talking about this on our gambling stream, not gambling advice. Twitch.tv/justbaseballfans, 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Eastern every Monday through Friday. Win probability added is a stat that I was talking about last year a lot with Sandy, right? And how valuable Sandy was and adding wins to your team. But the clutch stat is something that I brought up on this podcast. And basically what it does is it rates how you are in clutch situations. But it doesn't just say, like, if you're a 300 hitter and you hit 300 in clutch situations, you're not clutch. You're just doing what you should be doing, and that's who you are as a ball player. But the fact that Yordan Alvarez is number one in that clutch stat means that not only is he an amazing hitter, so it's even so hard to get above himself, right? He's facing off against himself, which is maybe the best overall hitter in the game.
Right.
He takes it to another level with runners in scoring position. He is an otherworldly hitter. And I've been arguing with people like, is he the best pure hitter in Major League Baseball? And, there's a part of me that's like, I still think Trout. Like, it's hard for me to get off Mike Trout. And I still think Judge is up there. And people are going to hate this. I still think Juan Soto is up there. I know he's off to a slow start. I know he hasn't been hitting with San Diego. But I just think when I watch the guy, I think he still puts up the best at-bats that you really can find.
Yeah.
But it's getting harder and harder for me not to say Yordan Alvarez. And that's with my absolute love and respect for both Mike Trout and Aaron Judge. But Yordan is I love and respect him too, but it's like, he's still young. Like,
Yordan's still 25.
Yeah, he's still young. This is new.
He's the most 35 looking 25-year-old I've ever seen.
I'm 25. He looks 50 years older than me.
Yeah. Like
in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looks 75 in like a healthy way.
Not a Yan Gomes way.
Yordan Alvarez with runners in scoring position this year. 9 for 20 with 2 doubles, 3 homers, and 23 driven in.
There you go. He's hitting 470 with runners in scoring position. Also, shout out Yan Gomes. Cubs fans, don't think I didn't watch that game where he basically willed you to win in the wind, basically drove in all of those runs. I think he had 4 or 5 RBIs, opposite base hits. I'm not trying to disrespect Yan Gomes, but at the same time, Cubs fans, we do look at Yan Gomes and say, that guy could be my grandpa.
For sure. And listen, the way he rode Drew Smiley on that ground ball, that felt like a very grandpa way to try and field a ground ball.
That looked like he needed a walker.
Yeah. Total bases. Really interesting list in total bases, top 5. Matt Chapman and Rafi Devers share the lead. We already talked about both those guys. Bo Bichette 3, James Outman 4, Pete Alonso 5. So I guess my question is, Bo Bichette and James Outman, your thoughts?
Bo Bichette, I 1000% believe in. I had someone, and I wanted to pose this question to you. Someone said it in my TikTok live today. Do you think Bo Bichette will get to 3,000?
Let me pull him up. Bo Bichette,
24.
Yes. He's a young 25-year-old. He just turned 25 on March 5th.
Okay.
He's got 500 hits. So let me do the math here.
Over the next, so if he plays until he's 40,
that's 15 years.
15 years.
All right. 3,000 minus 511, 2489 divided by 15, 166 hits a year. He's averaging 199 through his first 5 seasons. He's got to be really good and he's got to be really healthy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I said on the live, because I was going over it in my head and I'm like, it's just about health. I think it's just about health. If he stays healthy, he has that special hit tool that will lead him to 3,000 hits in the Hall of Fame.
The other thing that kind of helps his case too is he doesn't walk that much.
No, he doesn't, which is great.
His career walk rate is 6%, which is 2.5% below league average.
He's also, and I wouldn't say mastered it because he still is young, but it does look like a Derek Jeter type ability to hit the ball the opposite way, where he gets a sweeper, which is the new pitch in Major League Baseball. He ain't worried about that. He just shoots it the other way. And especially with no shift, he's finding these holes, and it's like he doesn't have to hit the home runs anymore. Like, I think he is going to be a perennial 200 hit guy for the next decade. And I think we'll be talking about Bo Bichette in the Hall of Fame case. I really do. I've always thought this is a special hitter. Watching Blue Jays games now for what feels like, the last half decade, where I've been watching Bo Bichette, what feels like every day. I'm like, God, this guy sucks at defense, but the bat is just,
and he's getting better.
Turn on the TV and he's getting better and he's getting more mature. He's amazing.
He's getting better. He shoots the ball the other way on his career at a 26% clip, which is 6% better than league average. Other thing that jumps out about Bo Bichette, line drive rate so far this year, highest of his career. He's got a 38% line drive rate. So this guy's hitting a line drive more often than not, it feels like, and he doesn't hit the ball on the ground that often. He also is fast as shit. So
The 17% fly ball rate, I don't hate at all with
No.
him.
Imagine if he was a good defender.
Yeah, and like Outman, we talked about.
I don't know what to do with him.
I don't think that this is real, but I do think that James Outman is like an 800 OPS guy this year.
I don't know what to say. I know he's not a top prospect, but he hits a home run every day. What am I supposed to say? Like, I like his swing. I like his overall game. Who am I to say that he's going to regress? He hits a home run every day. Maybe he won't keep hitting a home run every day, but he's hitting a home run every day. So what am I going to do? I love him. He's hitting a home run every day.
So he's 5th in WRC plus right now. There are 4 guys with a WRC plus at 200 or above through the first month of the season. Luis Arraez has a WRC plus right at 200. Matt Chapman at 205. Brandon Marsh at 209. We've talked about those 3. But your major league leader among qualified hitters in WRC plus is Jared Kelenic of the Seattle Mariners at 210. God, I love that. Is it real?
Yes. 210's not real, but he's got it.
But like 140 could be real.
This is the fucking guy. Yeah. This is who we all thought. This was the top prospect. This was the big fish. The reason Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz was traded. Jared Kelenic is that guy. And, you know, it's not like I'm not victory lapping, but what I did say at the beginning of the season, and when I gave you and Aram my grand pitch for why the Mariners are going to win the World Series, was I was like, Jared Kelenic is the X factor. The rest of the offense is great. And he made these mental changes in the offseason. I watched that interview and I fell in love with the mental side of Jared Kelenic. And that was all that mattered for him. It was take out the noise, stop worrying so much, and let your talent play pitch by pitch, win every pitch. And I got to say, dude, my brain lit up like a freaking light bulb when he was asked, how did you do today? And he said, I won every pitch. That's Miguel Cabrera type shit. That is different levels of hitter. And if he's got that at this young age with that swing and that power, sky's the limit.
I hear you. I hear you on it. And what sucks is while Kelenic has been the best hitter in baseball by WRC plus, there have been other factors with that Mariners team that have limited how they vaulted into this 2023 season. But assuming that every other guy kind of like reaches level ground, like reaches what they can be, and Kelenic stays good, this Mariners team is really dangerous, man. All right.
Also, can we shout out Luis Arraez for a second? Our
Sure,
modern day Tony Gwynn. What an amazing player. What an amazing player.
He is so much fun. And like, he's going to be for a long time. He's 26 years old. He's about to turn 26 years old. He's got 2 more years of arbitration left, I think. And we talked about the extension candidacy for him. Aram wrote up a nice piece last week on justbaseball.com about the extension candidacy for Luis Arraez. Regardless of what uniform he's wearing, this guy is must see. He's so much fun.
When we talk about the prospect grading scale from a 20 to 80 scale, that's an 80 hit tool.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at. Whenever you hear the word 80, it is Hall of Fame. It is the best of the best. You look up to them. Aaron Judge, 80 grade power. Giancarlo Stanton, 80 grade power. I would even venture to say when Joey Gallo puts the bat on the ball, that's 80 grade power.
Yeah.
Luis Arraez has an 80 grade hit tool.
And he may be the only one. He may be the only one.
He might be the only one right now because it's clockwork. And that's what 80 is. Clockwork.
Yeah. Like who are the other guys that jump out in that regard? Like Quan, when it comes to making contact on pitches in the strike zone, but I don't even think Quan is an 80 hit tool.
It's not an 80 hit tool.
No, he hits 300. Arraez is hitting 440 a month into the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and he also, didn't he win the batting title last year?
Yeah.
Who else has an 80 grade hit tool?
I don't think there is one. Like Trey Turner in recent years.
Maybe he's up there. I mean, you know who's up there right now.
Freddie Freeman is up there, but who?
Freddie Freeman is definitely up there. Wander Franco's up there.
Wander Franco's up there. Jordan Alvarez. No, not Jordan.
Yeah, but the crazy thing about Jordan is he's like 75, 75.
He's 70. Yeah, he's 70, I think.
He's amazing. That's what Aaron Judge is. Like the same thing as Jordan, 75, 75. That's what I give Trout, 75,
Although he
75.
punches out, like Jordan doesn't punch out.
Well, like Aaron Judge doesn't strike out that much.
Yeah, he does. He struck out a lot last year.
Let me check his strikeout rate right now.
He struck out a lot last year. While you do that, we just talked top 5 in WRC plus. We just talked guys with a 200 plus WRC plus. WRC plus under 50, meaning 50% or lower.
Aaron Judge is striking out 31.7%.
Yeah, there we go. So I would negate that 75 hit rate.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
There are 6 guys with a WRC plus under 50, meaning they are more than 50% below the league average hitter at this point. Manny Machado is a 48 WRC plus.
He's
cap.
Obviously, it's cap. He's way better than that, but his at-bats suck.
Yes.
He looks like he doesn't even care. That's what I hate from some of these guys. That's what I see on the White Sox. There's one thing to have a bad at-bat. There's another thing to look like you don't give a shit. And that makes me so mad. And knowing the talent of Machado, but then I get to watch him play third base, and he's just
exactly
a wizard. Like people say, oh, Arenado's way better of a defender. Dude, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, but also no, like not way better. He's a marginally better defender.
Have you ever seen a smoother defender at any position ever? Just smooth. It's not best. It's just sometimes I say Buxton the way he glides in center field. But
yeah, I mean, like prime Andrelton Simmons in Atlanta.
But that wasn't smooth. That was just greatness.
But everything happened. Yeah, you know, like he was.
Yeah, that was just
the craziest shit.
That's not what even I'm talking about. I'm talking about like Robinson Cano. Like just.
No, I mean Machado's smooth as hell. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Not greatest. Like Andrelton Simmons is a much better defender than Machado. Maybe not, but like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Smoothness, the gracefulness. It's amazing.
All right. Bottom 5 in WRC plus. Josh Naylor, Elvis Andrus, Aledmus Diaz, Ezekiel Tovar, and Gene Segura bringing up the rear with a 19 WRC plus.
Gene Segura has been a big pile of shit.
He's got a negative 0.7 WAR.
It's not ideal.
Incredible.
Bad. Real bad. Like, I mean, he grounds out every play or strikes out. I mean, it's non-competitive. And, you know, Marlins fans are asking for the release of Avi Garcia, which I find hilarious. And they're spot on with that. But I can't imagine Marlins fan after you sign Gene Segura to a multi-year deal. It wasn't very expensive. But I got to say, kind of similar to the Cardinals line at the beginning of the season on BetMGM. Remember when I said Cardinals money line or Cardinals to win the division is -115. That must be free money. It's basically even odds. Gene Segura signing for 2 years, 17 felt very telling. Yeah. That a lot of big league organizations said there's nothing left in the bat anymore.
No. And I mean, coming off a World Series appearance too. All right. Last hitter number, strikeout rate. There are 5 guys punching out at a 35% clip or above among qualified hitters.
Can I guess?
Yeah.
I know Jazz is on there.
Jazz is number 1, 38% K rate.
He strikes out every day. I love him, Marlins fans. I love the flair, but I kind of don't like him. And I'm afraid of hiding it. I mean, I'm done hiding it. I don't like it. And it has nothing to do with the flair. I have no problems with him, Euro stepping in the play. I have no problems with that. I love the flair. I'm talking about him as the baseball player.
Yeah, like back it up.
Puts up terrible at bats. Like Marlins fans, can we understand that? He puts up terrible at bats day in, day out. And all I hear is, oh, he's improving so much in center field. Are we watching the same game? Like he's so fast so he can get to some balls. And yeah, like he is improving from horribleness. Like you'd expect that from a guy like Jazz. Like I know Jazz doesn't give a fuck about this podcast. Never heard about us before, but I am challenging you, Jazz Chisholm. Like you are better at baseball than what you show on a day-to-day basis. Like I feel like he checks out mentally and he's just like, screw it. Like I'm having fun. I'm still flashy. I'm still so talented. I'm like, you could be so much better, dude. So he pisses me off.
Yeah. I mean, I totally hear where you're coming from. I hear what you're saying on that front. I think that this is a really rough start to his season. I think that he bounces back.
Bounces back in what format? Like he
I
doesn't
think
play baseball.
I think the
well.
batting average goes up 30 to 40 points. He's a 218 hitter right now. And I think the K rate drops.
I think he could be a 240 guy who strikes out 35% of the time and hits 20 home runs and steals 40 bags. And like,
I just don't think that's him, man. I think he's a legit 30-30 threat. And I think he's going to hit 260.
I have no qualms with him being a legit 30-30 threat. It's everything else.
Yeah, I hear you.
Why are you home run or bust with your speed?
I like the swing. I like the A swings that he gets off, but I hear you. Like, I need to see some in-at-bat adjustments. All right. The other four, Riley Green with the Tigers, Will Myers with the Reds, Ryan McMahon with the Rockies, and Matt Olson with the Braves. And might I point out that among these guys, there's only one with a WRC plus over 90, and it's Matt Olson with a 148, and he's punching out 35% of the time. His profile is one of the very few guys in baseball that can survive with a 35% K rate because he walks more than 15% of the time and he hits bombs and he drives in runs. Yeah. I love Matt Olson and I'm okay with the Ks.
I'm not okay with the Ks. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm never okay with a 30% or above strikeout rate. I'm just never going to be okay with it. I don't care who you are. So it's, I'm not just being mean to Jess. I'm not okay with that. I hate that. I don't like guys who strike out that much.
I don't either, but I'm willing to palate it with a guy like that.
I guess, yeah, when they're such freaks in nature, like I'm willing to palate it with Aaron Judge if he hits fucking 80 home runs and like hits 300. It's like, yes, I can palate it. Do I like it? Absolutely not. Do I know that Matt Olson is capable of much more? Do I know that Aaron Judge is capable of much more? Do I know that Chad Chisholm is capable of much more? Absolutely. So what's going on? Why are you striking out 3 or 4 times every 10 at bats? I mean, that's objectively bad. Like, at least make contact, especially Jazz. You can get on base with a weak single, dude. I'm done. I'm done with that. Sorry.
I hear you. All right, moving to the pitchers. Just a couple numbers to run through here. I'm going to go ERA. I'm going to go strikeouts, innings pitched, and I'm going to go batting average against, and then we'll call it a wrap. ERA. There are 9 guys with an ERA under 2 among qualified starters, and I'm going to walk you through and just say valid or invalid. Number 1 is Sonny Gray at 0.62.
He's been so good.
He's been good.
So good.
Valid or invalid?
Do I think he's going to have a 0.62 ERA this year? No. Do I think he has a very strong possibility of being under a 3? Yes.
Let's call it stars aligned. These guys are under 2.5. Sonny Gray?
No, but close.
Ohtani next at 0.64.
I think he might have a 0.64 ERA this year.
Like he's Garrett Cole at 0.79.
He's been on fire. I think he's going to be in the mid-2s.
Yeah. Justin Steele at 119.
Dude is a fucking legend.
He's a legend.
He's a legend. Crazy. He keeps the ball off the barrel at an elite rate that I like. I mean, you watch Justin Steele starts, nobody hits the ball hard ever. Just cutters in on your hand, sliders. I don't even know what it is. It's spinning. It's so good. And friend of the program, Justin Steele, we plugged, and I think it's episode 307, Cubs fans, if you want to go back and listen to that episode. We talked to Justin Steele. I was talking about it on the stream. And I said him and Luzardo were kind of similar, but completely different people in the sense that they're just ball players.
Yeah.
They are just ball players. There's some guys who we've spoken to. They have great stories. They're really fun interviews. They have stuff outside of baseball. Obviously, they're diehard baseball. Like if you're in the major leagues, you have to be. But Justin Steele wakes up and he thinks about baseball. When he falls asleep at night, he thinks about baseball. I love him.
And it plays, dude. Like you see it. And the thing is, I'm talking if the stars align, is this guy a sub 2.5? And, we don't necessarily think so for Sonny Gray. Like, we think so for Steele because the way that slider works off the fastball, it's wild.
You can't hit it. You can't put a hard contact on it. If you can't put a hard contact on it, you're going to not have success. It's the name of the game. Luis
Castillo at a 1.5 right now.
Yeah, he'll be like a 1.9. Yeah, he's the best. He's amazing. He's King Felix reincarnated.
Bryce Elder has a 1.69 right now. It's a good story while it's lasting, but that it's not going to last. Although Elder can hold down the 5 spot for Atlanta.
I think he's a high 3s ERA guy, like a 3.8. I think he's solid.
Sub 4 for sure. And Elder, I think, is a good 5
at
the big league level.
Great 5.
But this
gives you length, quick innings.
No,
Pitch
I mean,
counts as like in the 80 by the 6th inning. He's a good 5. Because he's not a 5 starter that like has strikeout stuff, and you're like, ooh, like he has good stuff. Let's put him in the rotation. Like, nah, he's not there to strike you out. He's there to get the ground ball double play and move on to the next. Let Atlanta's offense cooks, and they win all the time when he's on the mound.
so he and Kyle Muller fulfill very similar roles. Elder was the righty innings eater, Muller the lefty innings eater, but both those guys were like kind of the bulldog in waiting for Atlanta. So I think they felt okay moving off Muller because they knew they had a guy with a similar type template in Elder.
I had the same thought. There's a reason they kept Elder and dished Muller, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that.
Not that Muller's bad. I don't mind
I'm not
Muller.
sure if
I'm
they
just,
preferred Elder to Muller, but I think they were kind of interchangeable in their minds.
I think, and this is all conjecture, in those trade talks, they were like, you can have Kyle Muller. And they said, what about Bryce Elder? And they said,
You can have
let's
Muller.
do Kyle Muller.
Okay.
Right?
Strider.
Like,
What?
do you think that the A's, if they had a choice, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong.
I bet you go Muller if you had the choice.
Huh. Okay.
But again, it's really close. I view those guys very similarly.
I think Muller's floor is higher, or excuse me, Elder's floor is
Elder's
higher
floor.
in my opinion.
See, I think Muller's floor is a little higher, but who knows what happens if Bryce Elder is the opening day starter in Oakland? Like,
true, he could get bombed too. It just could. You're pitching for Oakland, and there's 8 people there, and like,
yeah. Strider next, yes, believe it, all the way in. No, you guys talked about him yesterday.
I said like, there's one thing to have great pitches, there's another thing to have great command, and there's another thing to have an enormous set of nuts.
Yes, he's got all 3.
Yep.
McClanahan at 186. Yes. Moving on. Alex Cobb at 191. Sneaky been great for San Francisco.
No, but I think he'll be in the low 3s. I really do like him. I think, remember, he's always been a good pitcher. He was on the Rays for a while, and they figured something out with him. Of course they did. The fact that they can grab Elvin Rodriguez from the Tigers and make him something. Arm and I were talking about that on the prospect report. I still can't get over that. And then like Cobb, when I think the Angels, been dealing with injuries, but like when he pitches, and the year before he was the unluckiest pitcher in baseball. Runners in scoring position, like when he was in the stretch, they all scored. And like that doesn't happen year over year. So it's finally regressing to the mean for him. I think he's a low 3s guy. I think he's actually a very, very solid pitcher.
Yeah.
Maybe not low 3s, but like mid 3s.
Yeah.
Which is great. Garrett Cole at 3.5 last year.
Right. We'll be talking about a lot of the same guys as we run through these stats. So to end the pod, I just want to heap praise on Zach Gallen because he was awesome again, and he's the league leader in strikeouts right now. I want to run through the last 4 starts for Gallen because I've got a really cool nugget from OptaStats here. April 10th against Milwaukee, 7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 11 strikeouts, and a walk. Against Miami on April 16th, 6 2/3, 2 hits, no runs, 7 Ks, no walks. April 21st against San Diego, 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 11 Ks, no walks. And then yesterday against Kansas City, 6 1/3, 4 hits, no runs, 12 Ks, no walks. So according to OptaStats, Zach Gallen of the Diamondbacks is the only major league pitcher in the modern era, so post 1901, to have a 4-start span with 40 plus strikeouts, no runs allowed, and a whip under 0.5. Less than half a base runner per inning, 40 Ks over 4 starts, and no runs.
That's an ace.
Never been done before.
Greatness. That's an ace.
He's
an ace in our league. He's an ace in our league. And it was crazy because remember at the beginning of the season, stuff was down. You're like, whoa, what's going on, Gallen? Back with a vengeance. And the Diamondbacks, like having him and Carroll, I mean, you're going to be sitting there for a very long time, Diamondbacks fans, knowing that you have one of the best players in baseball, and Corbin Carroll hasn't fully come into play yet, but well, we'll see.
He's playing well, man.
Oh, he's still playing well. That's what I'm saying. Like he's playing well, and it's not even close to, I think, touching the surface of what he can be. And then you have Zach Gallen. And like there's not a lot of teams that have one of the best pitchers in the league, and then we'll have one of the best position players in the league. Like the Rays have it in Wander and Shane. The Braves have it in Strider and Acuna.
The Yankees have it with Judge and Cole.
The Yankees have it with Judge and Cole. I mean, the Angels have it, of course.
Yeah, with Ohtani and Ohtani.
With
And Trout.
Ohtani and Trout. Who else has that? I mean, Horner and Steele.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sandy and Arise right now, but like no. I don't know. Like it's few and far between, man.
Yeah, it's hard to find them. Let me just workshop this real quick.
Houston with
Blue
Jordan and
Jays.
Fromber.
Blue Jays having Gosman and Vladdy, but Gosman's not quite there.
I'd probably put Jordan and Valdez ahead of that.
I would too, but I still wouldn't put, because it's like I need like one of the best pitchers on earth and one of the best hitters on earth. And like Framber is a very good pitcher, not one of the best pitchers on earth.
I think that's the list. I think it's Judge and Cole. I think it's Ohtani and Trout, McClanahan and Franco right now.
Yeah.
And Gallen and Carroll aren't there yet because Carroll's not there yet.
Mookie and Arias.
Oh, and Strider and Acuna.
Strider
Mookie
and Acuna. Mookie and Arias. Padres.
Tyler Wells and Adley Rutschman.
Tyler Wells and Adley Rutschman. Kyle Muller and Asturi Ruiz.
Yeah. Seth Brown and Shintaro Fujinami. Plug the merch, man.
Get your Just Baseball merch, ladies and gentlemen. I'm rocking my Just Baseball hat. It is in the episode description. It is the best way to support this podcast. Another great way without spending a dime is just if you could rate and review 5 stars, whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And if you are listening to us on YouTube, hopefully you all enjoyed the show. If you could hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment what else you'd like to see us here on the Just Baseball Show go over. We'll be back on Friday, but of course, the Just Baseball Show is sponsored by BetMGM. For all my not gamblers out there, wager $10 on any MLB money line before the game started. Once it is settled, you will see $100 in bonus bets in your account. Download BetMGM on your smartphone or your computer and use code JBFans in order to take advantage of that promo, because it ends soon, right? They don't just give out free money all year. This ends soon, so make sure to jump on it now. And with that, thank you, everybody.